Imam Ahmad redirects here. For the Imam of Adil from 1527 to 1543, see Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal titled Sheikh al-Islam, Sheikh of Islam, Sheikh al-Dunya, Sheikh of the World, one personal life, born November 780 CE, Rabi al-Awwal 164 AH, Baghdad, Abbasid Caliphate, modern-day Iraq, died the 2nd of August 855 CE, 12 Rabi al-Awwal to 141, aged 74. Baghdad, Abbasid Caliphate, modern-day Iraq, resting place Mausoleum of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Baghdad. Iraq 3,324 ON for 140 to 1,317 spouse Abbas bint al-Fadl Rayyan Hassan concubine children Abdallah. Asaliya Zainab al-Hazen died soon after birth. Al-Hussein died soon after birth. Al-Hazen. Muhammad Said parents Muhammad ibn Hanbal father. Safiya bint Maymuna bint Abdul Malik mother era Islamic Golden Age early Abbasid region Abbasid Caliphate main interest as jurisprudence of Thessaloniki notable ideas. Hanbali school notable work as usual Al-San al-Asami wa Al-Kinala Shribal Zudfadeo. Al-Sa boundless Nidrazala fi al-Sala Lial al-Qibla occupation scholar jurisdiction deal. Relatives Hanbal ibn Ishaq, our cousin Ishaq ibn Hanbal, our uncle, religious life, religion Islam, denomination Sunni, jurisprudence, independent, eponym of the Hanbali school, creed, authority to 3-4. 5-6 Muslim leader influenced Arabic name personal is a Ahmad patronymic. Nasib ibn Muhammad ibn Fanbal ibn Hilal ibn Asid ibn Idris ibn Abdallah ibn Wayan. Technonymic Kunya Abu Abdallah toponymic Nisba. Al-Shaybank al-Dulyu. Ahmad ibn Hanbal Arabic, romanized, Ahmad ibn Fanbal, 164 to 241 780-855 C was an Arab Muslim scholar, jurist, theologian, traditionist. Ascetic and eponym of the Hanbali school of Islamic jurisprudence, one of the four major orthodox legal schools of Sunni Islam. Through the most highly influential and active scholar during his lifetime, Ibn Hanbal went on to become one of the most venerated intellectual figures in Islamic history. He who has had a profound influence affecting almost every area of the traditionalist perspective within Sunni Islam. 3. One of the foremost classical proponents of relying on scriptural sources as the basis for Sunni Islamic law and way of life. Ibn Hanbal compiled one of the most significant Sunni hadith collections, Al-Musnad, 9, which has continued to exercise considerable influence on the field of hadith studies up to the present time. 2. Having studied jurisprudence and hadith under many teachers during his youth, 10. Ibn Hanbal became famous in his later life for the crucial role he played in the minute instituted by the Abbasid Caliph Al-Mamun toward the end of his reign, in which the ruler gave official state support to the Mutazili doctrine of the Quran being created, a view that contradicted the orthodox position of the Quran being the eternal, uncreated Word of God. To living in poverty throughout his lifetime, working as a baker, and suffering physical persecution under the caliphs for his unflinching adherence to the traditional doctrine. Ibn Hanbal's fortitude in this particular event only bolstered his resounding reputation in the annals of Sunni history. Ibn Hanbal later came to be venerated as an exemplary figure in all traditional schools of Sunni thought, to both by the exoteric scholars and ascetic Sufis, with the latter often designating him as a saint in their hagiographies. 11. The 12th century jurist and theologian Ibn al-Jawzi relates he was the foremost in collecting the prophetic way and adhering to it. 12. He was further praised by the 14th century historian and traditionist al-Dahabi, who referred to Ibn Hanbal as the true Sheikh of Islam and Imam of the Muslims in his time, the traditionist and proof of the religion. 13. In the modern era, Ibn Hanbal's name has become controversial in certain quarters of the Islamic world, as the Hanbali reform movement known as Wahhabism has cited him as a principal influence along with the 13th century Hanbali reformer Ibn Taymiyyah. However, it has been argued by certain scholars that Ibn Hanbal's own beliefs actually played no real part in the establishment of the central doctrines of Wahhabism. 14. As there is evidence, according to the same authors, The older Hanbali authorities had doctrinal concerns very different from those of the Wahhabis, 14 due to medieval Hanbali literature being rich in references to saints, grave visitation. Miracles and relics, 15 in this connection, scholars have cited Ibn Hanbal's own. Support for the use of relics is one of several important points on which the theologians' positions diverged from those adhering to Wahhabism. 16 other scholars maintain he was the distant progenitor of Wahhabism, who also immensely inspired the similar conservative reform movement of Salafism, 17. Personal life. Birth Ahmad ibn Hanbal was born in November 780 CE. This was mentioned by his son Abdullah. 1819, Ibn Hanbal's family was originally from Basra and belonged to the Arab Banu Dul tribe. His father was an officer in the Abbasid army in Khorasan and later settled with his family in Baghdad. 20. Historians differ about his place of birth. Some say he was said that he was born in Merv, located in Meri, Turkmenistan today, where his father and grandfather had also previously worked. Well, according to others, he was born in Baghdad after his mother came pregnant with him from the city of Merv, where his father was. The latter opinion is the most accepted one, 1821. Upbringing. Ibn Hanbal lost his father when he was a young child. His father died young at the age of 30 only. Then his mother raised him under the care of those who remained from his father's family. His father had left him a property in Baghdad in which he lived, and another which yielded him a small rental income sufficient for his living. 20 to 23, the reports are conflicting about whether it was large or small. Ibn Kathir mentioned its amount, saying his income from his property was 17 dirhams each month, which he spent on his family, and he was content with that, seeking the mercy of Allah, patiently and seeking reward. It is also narrated that a man asked Imam Ahmad about the property he was using on which he made a house on. He replied, "This is something I inherited from my father. If a man comes to me and confirms that this is his, I will get rid of it and give it to him." 24. Marriage and children. Ahmad ibn Hanbal did not marry until he reached the age of 40. It is said that this was because he was busy with knowledge, or because he traveled a lot and was away from his country for a long time when he reached the age of 40 and became closer to settling down than before, and he thought about marriage. 25. His first wife was Abasa bint al-Fadl, an Arab girl from the suburbs of Baghdad, and she lived with Ahmad ibn Hanbal for 30 years or 20 years according to some reports, and bore him their son Salih. And hence she was known by her title Salih. Ibn Hanbal remarked about her in the 30 or 20 years we were together. We never had a disagreement. After she died, Ahmad married his second wife, Ummu Abdillah Rayhana bint Yuma, known simply as Rayhana, and she bore him one son, Abdullah. She known for having only one eye. And Ibn Hanbal married her because he was impressed by her religious commitment. Reports suggest that they were together for 7 years. He also had a concubine named Hassan, who bore him a female girl, Zainab, then twins, Al-Hazen and Al-Hussein, who died after their birth. Then she bore Al-Hazen and Muhammad, and then she bore him Said among his sons. Salih and Abdullah excelled in jurisprudence, while Said later became the judge of Kufa, 26, 27, 28. Education and work. A manuscript of Ibn Hanbal's legal writings, produced October 879. Ibn Hanbal studied extensively in Baghdad and later traveled to further his education. At the age of 14, he began to work as a scribe in Divan. 29, 11 to 12, he learnt the Quran from Yahya ibn Adam. 30, and jurisprudence under the celebrated judge of Hanafi jurisprudence, Abu Yusuf, a student of Abu Hanifa. He learnt Quran from Yahya ibn Adam. After completing his studies with him, Ibn Hanbal began traveling throughout Arabia to collect narrations of Muhammad. Ibn al-Jawzi stated Ibn Hanbal had 414 traditionists whom he narrated from. With this knowledge, he became a leading authority in the field, leaving behind an immense encyclopedia of narrations, al-Musnad. After several years of travel, he returned to Baghdad to study Islamic law under al-Shafi, with whom he formed a close bond with. 31. Ibn Hanbal became a judge in his old age. Through his students, the Hanbali school of jurisprudence was established, which is now most dominant in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. 30 to 33, and like the other three schools, Hanafi, Maliki, and Shafi, the Hanbali school remained largely Athari in its theology, 34. In addition to his scholastic enterprises, Ibn Hanbal was a soldier in the war frontiers and performed pilgrimage 5 times in his life, twice on foot, 35. Inquisition. Main article, Minna. Ibn Hanbal is known to have been called before the Minna of the Abbasid Caliph Ahmad, who wanted to assert his religious authority by pressuring scholars to adopt the Mutazili doctrine of the Qur'an and being created rather than uncreated. According to Sunni tradition, Ibn Hanbal was one of the foremost scholars in resisting the caliph's interference and his imposed doctrine. Ibn Hanbal's stance led to the Hanbali school establishing itself firmly as not only a school of jurisprudence, but theology as well. 36. Because of Ibn Hanbal's refusal to accept the Mutazili doctrine, he was imprisoned in Baghdad throughout the reign of Al-Mun. In an incident during the rule of Al-Mun's successor, Al-Mutasim, Ibn Hanbal was flogged to unconsciousness. However, this caused great upheaval in Baghdad and forced Al-Mutasim to release him. 35. Dead link after Al-Mutasim's death, Al-Wathiq became caliph and continued his predecessor's policies of enforcing the Mutazili doctrine and, in this pursuit, banished Ibn Hanbal from Baghdad. It was only after Al-Wathiq's death and the ascent of his brother Al-Mutawakkil, who was much more tolerating of the traditional Sunni beliefs, that Ibn Hanbal was welcomed back to Baghdad. Citation needed. Illness and death. At the end of his life, Ibn Hanbal became severely ill. His son Salih describes his illness as 37. On the first day of Rabi al-Awwal in the year 241, my father developed a fever on Tuesday night. I visited him on Wednesday while he was feverish and breathing heavily. I was familiar with his ailment and had taken care of him whenever he fell ill. I asked him, "Father, what did you break your fast on last night?" He replied, "On broad bean water." Then he attempted to get up and said, "Take my hand." I held his hand, but as he reached the restroom, his legs weakened and he leaned on me for support. Several physicians, all Muslims, visited him. A doctor named Abdul Rahman prescribed for him a roasted gourd to be eaten and its water to be drunk. This was on Tuesday, and he passed away on Friday. Ibn Hanbal died on Friday, the 2nd of August, 855, at the age of 74 to 75 in Baghdad. He was buried after the afternoon prayer. Historians relate his funeral was attended by 800,000 men and 60,000 women, and 20,000 Christians and Jews converted to Islam on that day. 38. His grave is located in the premises of the Ahmad ibn Hanbal Mosque, 3940 in Al Rusafa district. 4140 to 43, it is reported among the people of Baghdad that during the flood of the Tigris in 1937, the remains of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal were supposedly relocated to Rifaga Mosque. 44, however, later historians have doubted the story, stating that it to be erroneous. 45. Will. His son Salih read his will to him at his deathbed, which he confirmed. 46. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. This is what Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal bequeaths. He testifies that there is no God but Allah, alone with no partner, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. He sent him with guidance and the true religion to make it prevail over all religions. Even if the polytheists dislike it, he advises his family and relatives who obey him to worship Allah among the worshippers, to praise him among those who praise, and to be sincere to the Muslim community. I declare that I am content with Allah as my Lord, with Islam as my religion, and with Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, as my prophet. I bequeath to Abdullah ibn Muhammad, known as Foreign, approximately 50 dinars. He is to be trusted in what he claims, and what I owe him shall be settled from the revenue of my house. God willing, once that is settled. My son Salih's children, both male and female, are to be given 10 dirhams each. Appearance. Ibn Hanbal is described as having a good-looking face and a brown complexion. Reports on his height vary, with some describing him as relatively tall, while others describing him of medium height. He used to trim a mustache and dye his beard with unripe non-reddish henna. His beard is also described as having some black strands. He would wear average garments, reportedly costing around 1 dinar. Oftentimes, he is described as wearing a thob with an amama. He used to keep extremely clean and was meticulous about his personal hygiene. 291316. Views and thought. Ibn Hanbal's principal doctrine is what later came to be known as traditionalist thought, which emphasized the acceptance of only the Quran and Hadith as the foundations of orthodox belief. 3. He did, however, believe that it was only a select few who were properly authorized to interpret the sacred texts. 3. Theology. God. Ibn Hanbal understood the perfect definition of God to be that given in the Quran. Once he held that proper belief in God constituted believing in the description which God had given of himself in the Islamic scripture. 2. To begin with, Ibn Hanbal asserted that God was both unique and absolute and absolutely incomparable to anything in the world of his creatures. 2. As for the various divine attributes, Ibn Hanbal believed that all the regular attributes of God, such as hearing, sight, speech, omnipotence, wisdom, the vision by the believers on the day of resurrection, etc., were to be literally affirmed as realities. As for those attributes called ambiguous mutus h-b, such as those which spoke of God's hand, face, throne, and omnipresence, vision by the believers on the day of resurrection, etc., they were to be understood in the same manner. 2. Ibn Hanbal treated those verses in the scriptures with apparently anthropomorphic descriptions as mukamat clear verses, admitting to only a literal meaning. 4. Furthermore, Ibn Hanbal rejected the negative theology talk of the Jamia and the particular allegorizing exegesis tall of the Quran and a tradition, and no less emphatically criticized the anthropomorphism to Sechba of the Mas'echaba, amongst whom he included, in the scope of his polemics, the Jamia as unconscious anthropomorphists. 2. Ibn Hanbal was also a critic of overt and unnecessary speculation in matters of theology. He believed that it was fair to worship God without the mode of the theologumena bilikaf. 2. And felt it was wise to leave to God the understanding of his own mystery. To thus, Ibn Hanbal became a strong proponent of the Bayal Kaifa formula. This mediating principle allowed the traditionalists to deny tall figurative interpretations of the apparently anthropomorphic texts while concomitantly affirming the doctrine of the incorporeal, transcendent deity. Although he argued for literalist meanings of the Quranic and prophetic statements about God, Ibn Hanbal was not a fightiest and was willing to engage in hermeneutical exercises. The rise of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and the Ashab al-Hadith, whose cause he championed during the Minna, would mark the stage for the empowerment and centering of corporealist ideas in the Sunnite orthodoxy. 5. Ibn Hanbal also recognized divine formulacra as a true attribute of God. He disagreed with those speculative theologians who interpreted the divine form as something that represents pseudo-divinities such as the sun, moon, stars, etc. For Ibn Hanbal, to deny that God truly has a form is kufr disbelief. He also believed that God created Adam according to his form. 47th century those who alleged that this was referring to the form of Adam, Ibn Hanbal asserted, "He who says that Allah created Adam according to the form of Adam, he is a Jami disbeliever. Which form did Adam have before he created him?" 48. The Quran. One of Ibn Hanbal's most famous contributions to Sunni thought was the considerable role he played in bolstering the orthodox vague weasel words doctrine of the Quran. Being the uncreated word of God kalamology H-Yer Mac H-Lul. 2. By Quran, Ibn Hanbal understood not just an abstract idea, but the Quran with its letters, words, expressions, and ideas, the Quran and all its living reality was nature in itself. According to Ibn Hanbal, diluted human comprehension. 2. Taqlid. See also Taqlid. Ibn Hanbal favored independent reasoning ijtihad and rejected blind following Taqlid 49 in the case of scholars, although he did allow Taqlid for laymen and the average Muslim community. His staunch condemnation of Taqlid is reported in the treatise Fath al-Majid by Hanbali Judge Abd. Al-Rahman ibn Hayz in 1782 to 1868, comparing Taqlid to polytheism, Shirk, Ibn Hanbal states, "I am amazed at those people who know that a chain of narration is authentic, and yet, In spite of this, they follow the opinion of Sufyan, for God says, "And let those who oppose the messenger's commandment beware, lest some fitness should befall them, or a painful torment be inflicted on them." Do you know what that fitna is? That fitna is shirk. Maybe the rejection of some of his words would cause one to doubt and deviate in his heart, and thereby be destroyed. 50. It is important to understand that this statement was directed towards his students, which were capable of ijtihad, and is not meant towards laymen. This statement is explained by Ibn Taymiyyah. Imam Ahmad deemed it unlawful for a scholar capable of ijtihad to make taqlid of them. He said, "Do not make taqlid of me, nor of Malik, al-Shafi, or al-Thawri." He instructed the lay people to seek fatwas from Ishaq, Abu Ubaid, Abu Thawr, and Abu Musab. But he forbade the scholars from among his students, like Abu Dawud, Uthman B. Sa'id, Ibrahim al-Harbi, Abu Bakr al-Athram, Abu Zura, Abu Hatim al-Sijistani, Muslim, and others, for making taqlid of any other scholar. He would say, stick to the basic principle by following the book and the sunnah. 51. This makes it evident that Ahmad ibn Hanbal's prohibition of taqlid was intended solely for scholars ulama, and he harshly condemned those who rejected the layman's duty to perform taqlid. Intercession. It is narrated by Abu Bakr al-Marwazik in his Mansak that Ibn Hanbal preferred one to make tawassul or intercession through Muhammad in every supplication with the wording, "O God, I am turning to thee with thy prophet, the prophet of mercy. O Muhammad, I am turning with you to my Lord for the fulfillment of my need." 50 to this report is repeated in many later Hanbali works in the context of personal supplication as an issue of jurisprudence. 53 Ibn Qudamah, for example, recommends it for the obtainment of need in his wasiyah. 54 in the same way. Ibn Taymiyyah cites the Hanbali fatwa on the desirability of Muhammad's intercession in every personal supplication in his Quita Filta Wasal Wa Wasila, where he attributes it to Imam Ahmad and a group of the pious ancestors from the Mansak of al-Marwazik as his source. 55. Mysticism. As there exist historical sources indicating patently mystical elements in his personal piety. 56, and documented evidence of his amiable interactions with numerous early Sufi saints, including Maruf Karki. 57, it is recognized that Ibn Hanbal's relationship with many of the Sufis was one of mutual respect and admiration. Qadi Abu Yala reports in his Tabaqat, Ibn Hanbal used to greatly respect the Sufs and show them kindness and generosity. He was asked about them and was told that they sat in mosques constantly, to which he replied, knowledge made them sit. 58. Furthermore, it is in Ibn Hanbal's Musnad that we find most of the hadith reports concerning the Abdal. 40 major saints whose number, according to Islamic mystical doctrine, would remain constant, one always being replaced by some other on his death, and whose key role in the traditional Sufi conception of the celestial hierarchy would be detailed by later mystics such as Hujwiri and Ibn Arabi. 11. It has been reported that Ibn Hanbal explicitly identified Maruf Karki as one of the Abdal, saying, "He is one of the substitute saints, and his supplication is answered." 59. Of the same Sufi, Ibn Hanbal later asked rhetorically, "Is religious knowledge anything else than what Maruf has achieved?" 11. Additionally, there are accounts of Ibn Hanbal extolling the early ascetic Saint Bishr the Barefoot and his sister as to exceptional devotees of God. 60. And of his sending people with mystical questions to Bishr for guidance. 61. It is also recorded that Ibn Hanbal said, with regard to the early Sufis, "I do not know of any people better than them." 62. Moreover, there are accounts of Ibn Hanbal's son, Salih, being exhorted by his father to go and study under the Sufis. According to one tradition, Salih said, "My father would send for me whenever a Self-Dinier or ascetic Zahid al-Mutakashif visited him so I could look at him. He loved for me to become like this." 59. As for the Sufis' reception of Ibn Hanbal, it is evident that he was held in high regard by all the major Sufis of the classical and medieval periods. 63. And later Sufi chroniclers often designated the jurist as a saint in their hagiographies, praising him both for his legal work and for his appreciation of Sufi doctrine. 63. Hujwiri, for example, wrote of him, "He was distinguished by devoutness and piety." Sufis of all orders regard him as blessed. He associated with great sheikhs, such as Dolnan of Egypt, Bishr al-Hafi, Sari al-Sakati, Maruf Karki, and others. His miracles were manifest, and his intelligence sound. He had a firm belief in the principles of religion, and his creed was approved by all the theologians. 60 for both non-Hanbali and Hanbali Sufi hagiographers such as Hujwiri and Ibn al-Jawzi, respectively, also alluded to Ibn Hanbal's own gifts as a miracle worker 65 and of the blessedness of his grave. 66, for example, Ibn Hanbal's own body was traditionally held to have been blessed with the miracle of incorruptibility. With Ibn al-Jawzi relating, when the Prophet's descendant Abu Ja'far ibn Ab Musa was buried next. To him, Ahmad ibn Hanbal's tomb was exposed. His corpse had not putrefied and the shroud was still whole and undecayed. 67. Although there is a perception that Ibn Hanbal or his school was somehow adverse to Sufism, scholars such as Eric Jeffrey have asserted that this opinion is more partial than objective. For there is no proof that the Hanbali school attacked Sufism in itself any more than any other. School 68, and it is evident that during the first centuries some major Sufis such as Ibn Allah, Halai, and Abdallah Ansari followed the Hanbalite school of law. 68 by the 12th century, the relationship between Hanbalism and Sufism was so close that one of the most prominent Hanbali jurists, Abdul Qadir Jilani, was also simultaneously the most famous Sufi of his era, and the tariqah that he founded, the Qadiriyya, has continued to remain one of the most widespread Sufi orders up until the present day. 68 even later Hanbali authors who were famous for criticizing some of the deviances of certain heterodox Sufi orders of their day, such as Ibn Qudamah, Ibn al-Jawzi, and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, all belonged to Abdul Qadir Jilani's order themselves and never condemned Sufism outright. 68. Relics. As has been noted by scholars, it is evident that Ibn Hanbal believed in the power of relics, 11, and supported the seeking of blessing through them in religious veneration. Indeed, several accounts of Ibn Hanbal's life relate that he often carried a purse in his sleeve containing hairs from the Prophet. 11. Furthermore, Ibn al-Jawzi relates a tradition narrated by Ibn Hanbal's son, Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who recalled his father's devotion towards relics thus: I saw my father take one of the Prophets' hairs, place it over his mouth, and kiss it. I may have seen him place it over his eyes, and dip it in water, and then drink the water for a cure. 69. In the same way, Ibn Hanbal also drank from Muhammad's bowl, technically a second-class relic, in order to seek blessings from it. 69, and considered touching and kissing the sacred minbar of Muhammad for blessings permissible. And pious act. 70. Ibn Hanbal later ordered that he be buried with Muhammad's hairs he possessed, one on each eye and a third on his tongue. 11. Sufi scholar Jibril had reports from al-Dahabi that Ibn Hanbal used to seek blessings from the relics of the Prophet. 16. Citing the aforementioned report of Ibn Hanbal's devotion towards Muhammad's hair, al-Dahab then goes on to staunchly criticize whoever finds fault with the practices of tabarruk, or seeking bulls. Sings from holy relics, saying, where's the quibbling critic of Imam Ahmad now? It is also authentically established that Abdallah ibn Hanbal's son asked his father about those who touched the pommel of Muhammad's pulpit and touched the wall of his room. And he said, I do not see any harm in it. May God protect us and you from the opinion of the dissenters and from innovations. 71. When asked by his son Abdullah about the legitimacy of touching and kissing Muhammad's grave in Medina, Ibn Hanbal is said to have approved of both these acts as being permissible according to sacred law. 72-73. Jurisprudence. According to Hanbali scholar Najm al-Din D. 716, H. 1316 CE, Ahmad ibn Hanbal did not formulate a legal theory, since his entire concern was with hadith and its collection. More than a century after Ahmad's death, Hanbali legalism would emerge as a distinct school, due to the efforts of jurists like Abu Bakr al-Laytham D. 261, H. 870 for CE, Harb al-Kermani D. 280, H. 8903, Abdallah ibn Ahmad D. 290 AH, 903 CE, Abu Bakr al-Khaldi. 311 H 923 CE, etc., who compiled Ahmad's various legal verdicts, 74. Independent reasoning by muftis. Ibn Hanbal also had a strict criterion for ijtihad, or independent reasoning in matters of law, by muftis and the ulema. 75 One story narrates that Ibn Hanbal was asked by Zakaria ibn Yahya al-Kar about how many memorized fatihs are sufficient for someone to be a mufti, meaning a mujtahid jurist or one, capable of issuing independently reasoned fatwas, 75. According to the narrative, Zakaria asked, "Are 100,000 sufficient?" To which Ibn Hanbal responded in the negative, with Zakaria asking if 200,000 were, to which he received the same response from the jurist. Thus, Zakaria kept increasing the number until, at 500,000, Ibn Hanbal said, "I hope that should be sufficient." 75 as a result. It has been argued that Ibn Hanbal disapproved of independent reasoning by those muftis who were not absolute masters in law and jurisprudence. 75. Misusing a hadith. Ibn Hanbal narrated from Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Kakan that the latter said, if someone were to follow every rukah dispensation that is in the wadith, he would become a transgressor fasik. 76. It is believed that he quoted this on account of the vast number of forged traditions of Muhammad. 75. Private interpretation. Further information, Al-Ari. Ibn Hanbal appears to have been a formidable opponent of private interpretation, and actually held that it was only the religious scholars who were qualified to properly interpret the holy texts. 3. One of the creeds attributed to Ibn Hanbal opens with, "Praise be to God, who in every age and interval between prophets fatra elevated learned men possessing excellent qualities, who call upon him who goes astray to return to the right way." 3. It has been pointed out that this particular creed explicitly opposes the use of personal judgment ray as basis of jurisprudence. 3. Ethics. Differences of opinion. Ibn Hanbal was praised both in his own life and afterwards for his serene acceptance of juridical divergences among the various schools of Islamic law. 77. According to later notable scholars of the Hanbali school like Ibn Aqil and Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Hanbal considered every madhab correct and abhorred that a jurist insists people follow his even if. He considered them wrong, and even if the truth is one in any given matter. 78 is such. When Ibn Hanbal's student Ishaq ibn Balal al-Anbara had compiled a book on juridical differences, which he had named the core of divergence Lub al-Iktilf, Ibn Hanbal advised him to name the work the Book of Liway Kitab Alsa instead. 79. Works. Ibn Hanbal's most famous work, Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, which contains almost 40,000 hadith. The following books are found in Ibn al-Nadim's Firist, 80. Usul as Sunnah, Foundations of the Prophetic Tradition and Belief. As Sunnah, the Prophet Tradition and Belief. Kitab al-Ilawam Rafat al-Riyal, the book of narrations containing hidden flaws and of knowledge of the men of hadith. Kitab al-Manasik, the book of the rites of Hajj. Kitab al-Zud, the book of abstinence. Kitab al-Iman, the book of faith. Kitab al-Masail, issues in fiqh. Kitab al-Ashriba, the book of drinks. Kitab al-Fadil Sahaba, virtues of the companions. Kitab Tha al-Rasul, the book of obedience to the messenger. Kitab Mansik, the book of abrogation. Kitab al-Faraid, the book of obligatory duties. Kitab al-Rad'ila al-Zanadiqa wal Jamia, refutations of the heretics and the Jamites. Tafsir, exegesis. Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Historical views. Ibn Hanbal has been extensively praised for both his work in the field of prophetic tradition hadith, jurisprudence, and his defense of orthodox Sunni theology. Abul Qadir Jilani stated that a Muslim could not truly be a wali of Allah except that they were upon Ibn Hanbal's creed citation needed, despite praise from his contemporaries as well. Yahya ibn Ma'in noted that Ibn Hanbal never boasted about his achievements. 81. Jurisprudence. There are some alleged views that his juristic views were not always accepted. Quranic exegete Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, who at one time had sought to study under Ibn Hanbal, later stated that he did not consider Ibn Hanbal a jurist and gave his views in the field no weight, describing him as an expert in prophetic tradition only. 82, however, this must be seen in context of its time, as Ibn Hanbal's school was still at its infancy and not followed by so many people, yet compared to the other schools, and the students had conflict with al-Tabari's school. 83. Consider how the Masail of Imam Ahmad, i.e., the first written compilation of Ibn Hanbal's question and answers, was written by Abu Bakr al-Qalal, who lived around the same time as al-Tabari, and the first written compilation of Ibn Hanbal's fiqh was al-Iraqi, who also lived around that same time. The more systematic teaching of Ibn Hanbal's jurisprudence in education facilities only occurred after that point. 84. Likewise, some consider how the Andalusian scholar Ibn Abd al-Bar did not include Ibn Hanbal or his views in his book The Hand-Picked Excellent Merits of the three great jurisprudent imams about the main representatives of Sunni jurisprudence. 85, however, Ibn Abd al-Bar actually has praised Ibn Hanbal's jurisprudence by saying he is very powerful in the fiqh of the madhab of the al-Hadith, and he is the imam of the Lama of al-H. 80th. 86. Be that as it may, the vast majority of other scholars do recognize Ibn Hanbal's prowess as a master jurist worthy of one whose methodology became foundation for its own school of jurisprudence. Imam Shafi said, among many other praises, Ahmad is an imam in 8 fields. He is an imam in hadith, jurisprudence, al-Quran, al-Lugha, al-Sana, al-Zud, al-Waraq, and al-Fiqh. 87. Al-Dahabi, one of the most major Islamic biographers, notes in his masterpiece Siyar Alam Nubala that Ibn Hanbal's status in jurisprudence is like al-Layth ibn Sa'd, Malik ibn Anas, al-Shafi, and Abu Yusuf. 88. Muhammad Abu Zahra, a contemporary Hanafi scholar, wrote a book titled Ibn Hanbal, Hayatu wa Yasru'ahu wa Fiqhu. And there he mentioned the heavy praises of various other classical scholars towards Ibn Hanbal and his school of jurisprudence. Hadith. It is reported that Ibn Hanbal has reached the title of al-Hafid of Hadith according to Jamal al-Din al-Mizzi classification. As the title bestowment were approved by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani that Ibn Hanbal has memorized at least 750,000 Hadith during his life, more than Muhammad al-Bukhari and Muslim ibn al-Hayyaj, who each memorized 300,000 Hadith, and Abu Dawud al-Sijistani, who memorized 500,000 Hadith. 89. Unreliable source. Abu Zur'a mentions that Ibn Hanbal has memorized 1 million Hadith. 700,000 among them are related to jurisprudence. 87. Well, according to the classification from Marfu Hadith of Ibn Abbas, which recorded by al-Tabarani, Ibn Hanbal has reached the rank of Amir al-Mu'minin al-Hadith, a rank that only reached by very few Hadith scholars in history such as Malik ibn Anas, Yahya ibn Man, Hamid ibn Salama, Ibn al-Mubarak, and al-Suyuti. 89. Unreliable source. Ibn Hanbal's Musnad is not, however, ranked among the Kutub al-Sittah, the 6 big collections of Hadith. Legacy. Ahmad ibn Hanbal Mosque in Medina, Saudi Arabia, named after him. Ahmad ibn Hanbal is described as one of the most venerated intellectual figures in Islamic history, 8, and one of the fathers of Islam, 90 during 9th century. He became a defining figure for Sunnism. People would assert as a badge of orthodoxy that their creed was same as Ahmad's, 91. His school of thought, Hanbali school, is dominant in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. During early 20th century, it became the official legal school in Saudi Arabia, 90 till tough in recent decades. There has been a gradual shift in the Saudi judiciary, with judges also increasingly incorporating opinions from other Sunni schools of jurisprudence, 93. In popular culture, Ahmad ibn Hanbal was largely depicted in Qatar TV's 2017 Ramadan drama serial The Imam, starring Mahir Kadir in the lead role. See also Ibn Ulayya, Ash'ari, Athari, Maturidi, Hanbali, Malik ibn Anas, Maliki, Abu Hanifa, Hanafi, al-Shafi'i, Shafi school. Footnotes. Full name: Abu Abdallah Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal ibn Hilal ibn Asad ibn Idris ibn Abdallah ibn Wayyan al-Shaybak al-Duli, Arabic. He is known by the title Sheikh al-Islam. References: Al-Jar Waqti Deal 2551. H. Laust, Ahmad B. Hanbal, in Encyclopedia of Islam, volume, IPP to 7-77. Holtzman, Livnit, Ahmad B. Fanbel, in Encyclopedia of Islam, 3, edited by Kate Fleet, Gudrun Kramer, Dennis Matringe, John Nawaz, Everett Rosen, page needed. Williams, Wesley August 2002. Aspects of the Creed of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, a study of anthropomorphism in early Islamic discourse. International Journal of Middle East Studies. 3 for 3. Cambridge University Press, 441-63. Doi: 10.1017. SO 07 for 3, 802003001. JSTOR 3,879,671. STCID 160 to million for 155,371. Archived from the original on the 7th of November 2021. Retrieved the 5th of November 2021. He chose to treat the anthropomorphic descriptions of God found in the scriptures as mukamat, admitting to only the apparent meaning. Williams, Wesley August 2002, Aspects of the Creed of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, a study of anthropomorphism in early Islamic discourse, International Journal of Middle East Studies, 30 for 3. Cambridge University Press, 441-463, Doi: 10.1017, SO 07 for 3, 802003001, JSTOR 3,879,671, STCID 160 to million for 155,371, archived from the original on 7 November 2021. Retrieved the 5th of November 2021. Scholars are almost unanimous in attributing to Ibn Hanbal the use of the ancient Balkafa formula. Goldziher, Wensink, Halkin, Laust, Makdisi, Abrahamov, and what all find in the Imam an advocate of this mediating principle Balkafa, which reportedly allowed the traditionalists to deny the mutazilite twill or figurative interpretation of the Quranic anthropomorphisms while concomitantly affirming the doctrine of the incorporeal, transcendent deity. Although he argued for the acceptance of the apparent to hear meaning of the Quranic and prophetic statements about God, he was no fideist. The Imam was quite willing to engage in hermeneutical exercise. The rise of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal during the Minna resulted in the empowering and centering of corporealist ideas within. The Sunni movement, when his ideas became the criterion of traditionalist orthodoxy. Kravitz, Burgett, Tamer, Georges, Holtzman, Livnitz, 2013, Debating the Doctrine of Jibr Compulsion, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya reads Fakhr al-Dun al-Razq, Islamic Theology. Philosophy and Law, Debating Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, Berlin. Germany, Walter D. Greiter, p. 63, ISBN 9783110-853 for 5, The Prominent Traditionalists. Such as Abu Amr al-Azadi, 157-774, and Ahmad B. Fanbel D. 241-855. A Literary History of Persia from the Earliest Times Until Firdaus by Edward Granville Brown, p. 295. Ghali, Mohammed M.I. 2006, Writings on Disability in Islam, the 16th Century Polemic on Ibn Fadl al-Nukat al-Ziraf, the Arab Studies Journal, Note 98, 13/14 to over 1/26. First ed., Cairo 1311, new edition by Ahmad S. H. Kieran Pubble, since 1368, 1948. Manib, pp. 33-36, Tarjayama, pp. 13-4. Christopher Melchert, The Fanabila and the Early Sufis Arabica, T48, Fask 3 Brill, 2001, p. 356. Ibn al-Jawzi, Abd al-Rahman, Manakib al-Imam Ahmad, p. 192. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 301. Michael Cook, On the Origins of Wahhabism, Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society, 3rd Series, Volume 2, Notajul. 1992, p. 198. Christopher Melchert, The Fanabila and the Early Sufis Arabica, T48, Fask 3 Brill, 2001, cf. Ibn al-Jawz, Mankib al-Imam Ahmad, ed. Dil Nuwayhik, Beirut 1393, 1973. Jibril F. added, the four imams and their schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 390. Behrman, Bianquis, Bosworth, Van Donzel, Heinrichs, PTHCEE, UP 1960, Ahmad B. Famble, in Laust, Henry ed., Encyclopedia of Islam, 2nd ed., Brill, ISBN 9,789,000,000 for 1,161,214. Archived from the original on the 5th of November 2021. Retrieved the 5th of November 2021. Founder of Wanava. For Major Sunu schools, the Fanbach, he was through his disciple Ibn Taymiyyah QV, the distant progenitor of Wahhabism, and has inspired also in a certain degree the conservative reform movement of the Salafiyah. Muhammad Abu Zara, Ibn Hanbal, his life and his era, his jurisprudential opinions, p. 14. Ibn al-Jawzi, The Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, pp. 1213. H.A.R. Jib et al., eds. 1986, Ahmad B. Famble, Encyclopedia of Islam, a volume 1 new ed., Brill Academic Publishers, p. 272, ISBN 900-0811-3. Ahmad B. Famble was an Arab, belonging to the Banu Shayban of Rabia. The Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal by Ibn al-Jawzi, p. 14. Ibn Hanbal, his life and his era, his jurisprudential opinions by Abu Zara, pp. 1718. The Four Imams by Mustafa al-Shaka, volume 4, pp. 7-8. Ibn Hanbal, his life and his era, his jurisprudential opinions by Abu Zara, pp. 7577. The Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal by Ibn al-Jawzi, p. 72. The Wives of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, hadithanswers.com, retrieved the 15th of January 2024. The Four Imams by Mustafa al-Shaka, volume 4, pp. 8990. Manaqib al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal by Ibn al-Jawzi, chapter 62, mentions the number of his wives, pp. 400-205. Chapter 63 mentions his concubines, pp. 106-08. And chapter 64 mentions the number of his children, pp. 109-10. Abdul Majid, Salahuddin Ali, 2006, The Biography of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, translated by Sama Strauk, 1st ed., Riyadh, Jerusalem, ISBN 99609-715-X, OCLC 80-191,875. Newcastle, Muhammad Salam, 1992, Dictionary of Quran Memorizers Throughout History in Arabic, Volume 1 ed., Beirut, DRLJGL. Islamic Finder, Biography of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Islamic Finder, retrieved the 14th of May 2024. Daryl Champion, 2002, The Paradoxical Kingdom, Saudi Arabia and the Momentum of Reform, Columbia University Press, ISBN 9780-311-81 for 8, p. 23 footnote 7. Jurisprudence and Law, Islam Reorienting the Veil, University of North Carolina 2009. Halverson, Jeffrey R. 2010, Theology and Creed in Sunni Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, Asharism, and Political Sunnism, Palgrave Macmillan, p. 34. ISBN 9,780,230,106,581. Archived from the original on the 2nd of June 2021. Retrieved the 15th of October 2020, the Hanbalite Madhab. In contrast, largely maintained the traditionalist of authority position. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Archived from the original on the 16th of May 2007. Williams, Wesley 2008. Tajali Warrior, a study of anthropomorphic theophany and Visio Dei in the Hebrew Bible, the Quran and Early Sunni Islam, University of Michigan, p. 229. ISBN 97805-9816881, permanent dead link. The Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal by Ibn al-Jawzi, chapter 79, in mention of his illness, pp. 54048. Adamek, Ludwig W. 2009. Historical Dictionary of Islam, Scarecrow Press, pp. 136-37, ISBN 9780810861619. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal Shrine, Dagov, Imam Abu Abdullah Ahmed bin Mohammed bin Hanbal Rahimahullahu Ta'ala, dargahinfo.com, archived from the original on the 16th of July 2020, retrieved the 13th of July 2020. Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal Shrine. Imam Abu Abdullah Ahmed bin Mohammed bin Hanbal Rahimahullahu Ta'ala, dargahinfo.com, archived from the original on the 13th of July 2020, retrieved the 13th of July 2020. In Arabic, Al-Mada Supplements, the 2nd of December 2012, archived from the original on the 3rd of September 2018. In Arabic, Sunni Endowment Office, page 69. In Arabic, Sunni Endowment Office, Department of General Sunni Shrines, p. 13. 1200, after more than 1,200 years since his death. What does Ahmad ibn Hanbal's tomb look like? Al Jazeera in Arabic. The 1st of July 2021, retrieved the 24th of March 2025. The tomb of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Al-Ayam in Arabic, the 24th of March 2024, retrieved the 24th of March 2025. Ibn al-Jawzi, The Virtues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, chapter 79, mentioning his illness, pp. 5/05/8. Williams, Wesley, August 2002. Aspects of the Creed of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, a study of anthropomorphism in early Islamic discourse. International Journal of Middle East Studies. 3/3. Cambridge University Press, 441-63. Boy: 10.1017. SO 007-380200301. JSTOR 3,879,671. STCID 160 to million for 155,371. Archived from the original on the 7th of November 2021. Retrieved the 5th of November 2021. Speculative theologians Mutakallimin from among the Sunni fold, finding this theomorphism objectionable yet unwilling to impugn the authenticity of the report, preferred to interpret the form as belonging to something other than God, such as the pseudo-divinities Makbatit, that is, the sun, moon, and stars. Ibn Hanbal disagreed. It is likely that Ibn Hanbal recognized this surah as a true attribute of God. He states in his Aqidah V, God created Adam with his hand and in his image form. Williams, Wesley, August 2002, Aspects of the Creed of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, a study of anthropomorphism in early Islamic discourse, International Journal of Middle East Studies, 30/3. Cambridge University Press, 443 doi 10.1017, SO 007-380-00301, JSTOR 3,879,671, STCID 160 to million for 155,371. Archived from the original on the 7th of November 2021. Retrieved the 5th of November 2021. Ismail, Raihan 2021, Chapter 1, Salafism, Rethinking Salafism, the transnational networks of Salafi ulama in Egypt, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, New York. United States of America, Oxford University Press, p. 15, ISBN 9,780,190,948,955, Ibn Hanbal. Articulated ijtihad in rejection of taqlid. Ibn Hazan al-Sheikh, Abdurrahman 2002. 38. Taking scholars or rulers as partners besides Allah, Fath al-Majid, Shah Kitab al-Tawhid, Divine Triumph, explanatory notes on the Book of Tawhid. Translated by al-Halawani, Ali as-Sayyed, al-Mansura. Egypt, Dar al-Manara, p. 366, ISBN 97760051887. Majmu Fatawa, 2226. Jibril F. added, Before Imams and the Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 389, trans, slightly revised. Jibril F. added, Before Imams and the Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 389. Ibn Quduma, Wasiya al-Muwafiq ibn Quduma al-Maqdisi, p. 93. See Jibril F. added, Before Imams and the Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 389. See Jibril F. added, Before Imams and the Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 389. Holtzman, Livnat, Ahmad B. Fanbel, an Encyclopedia of Islam, THRE, edited by Kate Fleet, Gudrun Kramer, Dennis Matringe, John Nawaz, Everett Rosen, C.F. Ibn al-Jawzd, Mankib al-Imam Ahmad. Adil Nuwayhik, Beirut 1393-1973, and Christopher Melchert, the Fanabila and the Early Sufis. Ravika, T48, Fast 3 Brill, 2001, pp. 35556. H. Laust, Ahmad B. Hanbal, in Encyclopedia of Islam, Volume I, pp. 272-77, Christopher Melchert, the Fanabila and the Early Sufis, Arabica, T48, Fast 3 Brill, 2001, p. 356. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 387. C. Ibn Abial, Tabat al-Hanabila, 279. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 387. John Renard, Friends of God, Islamic Images of Piety, Commitment, and Servanthood, Berkeley, University of California Press, 2008, p. 158. Hujwiri, Kashf al-Majab, Trans, R. A. Nicholson Leiden, Brill, 1911, p. 117. Al-Ghiza al-Abab, I. p. 120. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, Al-Wabl al-Sayyib min al-Kalam al-Tayyib, Trans, Michael Abdurrahman Fitzgerald, and Mulay Yusuf Slatin as the Invocation of God, London, Islamic Text Society, 2000. p. 153, note by Timothy Winner. Hujwiri, Kashf al-Majab, Trans, R. A. Nicholson Leiden, Brill, 1911, pp. 11718. Ibn al-Jawzd, The Life of Ibn Hanbal, 24-2, Trans, Michael Cooperson, New York University Press, 2016, p. 89. Hujwiri, Kashf al-Majab, Trans, R. A. Nicholson Leiden, Brill, 1911. p. 117-18, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, Al-Wabl al-Sayyib min al-Kalam al-Tayyib. Trans, Michael Abdurrahman Fitzgerald, and Mulay Yusuf Slatin as the Invocation of God, London. Islamic Text Society, 2000, p. 153, note by Timothy Winner. Ibn al-Jawzd, Mankib al-Imam Ahmad, ed. Dil Nuwayhik, Beirut 1393-1973. Eric Jeffrey, Introduction to Sufism, The Inner Path of Islam, Bloomington, World Wisdom, 2010, p. 121. Ibn al-Jawzd, The Life of Ibn Hanbal, 24-2, Trans, Michael Cooperson, New York University Press, 2016, p. 89. Imam Ahmad al-Ilawam Rafat al-Riyal, 2, p. 492. Al-Dhahab, CR, 9, 457, cited in Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 390. Ibn Hanbal al-Ilawam Rafat al-Riyal, 2, p. 492. Tabasi, Najm al-Din, 2009, Logical Analysis of Wahhabi Beliefs, translated by Kalkali, Zara Misavi, Rafe Books, archived from the original on the 8th of July, 2022, retrieved the 13th of April, 2022. B. Halleck, Val 2005, 7, The Formation of Legal Schools, The Origins and Evolution of Islamic Law, Cambridge, UK, Cambridge University Press, pp. 159-160, ISBN 97805-18033-8. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 306. Ahmad ibn Hanbal al-Ilawam Rafat al-Riyal, Adivasi ala ibn Muhammad Abbas, Beirut, Muassasat al-Risala, 1983, 1-219, cited in Jibril F. added. The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 306. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 313. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 306, see Ibn Taymiyyah, Majmum al-Fatawa, 20 to 365. Jibril F. added, The Four Imams and Their Schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007, p. 313, see Ibn Abiyal, Tabak al-Hanabila, I-111, etc. Al-Nakm 2014, Al-Firist in Arabic, Volume to 2nd ed., London, Al-Furqan Islamic Heritage Foundation, p. 100. Foundations of the Sunnah, by Ahmad ibn Hanbal, pp. 51173. Yaqut al-Amawi, Urshad, Volume 18, pp. 57 to 58. Abu Zayd, Bakr, Al-Maghal al-Mufassal, pp. 1366. Al-Ulayan, Mustafa Handbu, 2017. Al-Sada al-Hanabila, wa Iktilafatu ma al-Salafiyya al-Mushirafiyya, Akida wa al-Fitwa al-Taso of Yemen. Jordan, Dar al-Nur al-Mubinli al-Nashwa al-Tazi, pp. 108 to 109. Camilla Adang, this day I have perfected your religion for you, a Zahiri conception of religious authority, p. 20, taken from Speaking for Islam, Religious Authorities in Muslim Societies. At Gudrun Kramer and Sabine Schmidtke, Leiden, Brill Publishers, 2006. Ibn Abd al-Bar, Al-Antika, p. 107. Ibn Abiyallah, Abu al-Hussein Muhammad ibn Muhammad, Tabakat al-Hanabila, Beirut, Lebanon, Dar al-Rifa, pp. 114. Al-Ahab, Shims Adon Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Uthman, Siyar Alam al-Mubala in Arabic, pp. 21379. Narawi Abdus Salam al-Indunisi, Ahmad 1008, Ahmad Narawi, Amir Ed, Encyclopedia Imam Sifi Doctor in Indonesian, translated by Esman Shoroni, Koja, North Jakarta. Indonesia, Jakarta Islamic Center, p. 697, ISBN 9789791142199, archived from the original on 8. July 2022, retrieved the 17th of December 2021. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Biography, Musnad, and Books, Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica, retrieved the 23rd of May 2025. Melcher, Christopher 2000 for Ahmad ibn Hanbal and the Quran, Journal of Quranic Studies, 621, doi:10.3366/JQS at 2000 for 6.2, JSTOR 25,728,144. Hanbali School, Definition and Facts, Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica, retrieved the 23rd of May 2025. Beginning in the 20th century, the Fanbach School was broadly disseminated via Saudi Arabia, where it constitutes the official school of law. Krell, the Minute 2025, Chapter 2, Ibn Abd al-Wahhab, Salafa Islam, and the Saudi Judiciary, Islamic Law in Saudi Arabia, Leiden, Netherlands, Brill, pp. 65 to 66, doi:10.1163/97890 for 7 to 631 for _04. Further reading. Primary. Al-Ajr, Kitab al-Sharia, Beirut 1000. Al-Dhahab, Siyar Alam al-Nubal, ed. Shuaib al-Arno and Fusain al-Asad, 25 vols, Beirut 1401-09, 198188. Ibn Abiyallah, Kabit al-Fanabila, ed. Muhammad Kamid al-Fiq, 2 vols, Cairo 1952. Khalibi, Fanbal, Skrat al-Ahmad B, Fanbal, ed. Fuad Abd al-Munam Ahmad, 2 vols, in 1, Alexandria 1401 1981. Ibn al-Jawzd, Mankib al-Imam Ahmad, ed. Dil Nuwayhik, Beirut 1393 19,730 seconds. Ibn Kathir, Al-Bidayah wal Nihaya, 16 vols, Cairo 1418 1998. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Ijtim al-Jayish al-Islamiyah, ed. Awad Abdal al-Mutak, Riyadh 1419 1999. Ibn Taymiyyah, Dar Taruk al-Akal wal-Nakal, ed. Muhammad Rashad Salam, 11 vols, Riyadh 197981. Abu Nuaym al-Fahank, Filyat al-Ali Wakabat al-Akfiyah, 10 vols, Beirut 1409 1988. Matbi Yusuf al-Kank, Al-Shahada al-Zakiyah Futhata al-Lama al-Ibn Taymiyyah, ed. Najm Abd al-Rahman Khalif, Beirut 1,400 for 1,984. Abu Bakr al-Sana ed. Akia al-Zarank, 7 vols, Riyadh 1,410, 1,989. Abu Bakr Ahmad b. Muhammad b. Al-Fayyaj al-Marwazik, Kitab al-Wira ed. Sama b. Aman al-Zuhayrk, Riyadh 1,418, 1,997. Secondary books: Abrahamov Binyamin, Islamic Theology, Traditionalism and Rationalism, Edinburgh University Press, 1998. Abu Zara Muhammad Ibn Fambal, Wayatawaruhu Wafikuhu, Cairo, Diyar al-Fikr al-Arab, 1947. Cooperson, Michael, Classical Arabic Biography, The Heirs of the Prophets in the Age of Al-Mamun, Cambridge University Press, 2000. Headed, Jibril left the 4 Imams and their schools, London, Muslim Academic Trust, 2007. Holtzman, Livnet, Predestination al-Kaka wa al-Qadar and Free Will al-Ikhtiar as reflected in the works of the Neo-Fambalites of the 14th century, Ph.D. Dis, Bar-Ilan University, 2003. Hurwitz, Nimrod, The Formation of Fambalism, Piety into Power, London, Routledge, 2002. Makdisi, George, Fambalite Islam, and Studies on Islam, edited by Merlin L. Schwartz, 216 to 264, Oxford University Press, 1981. Melchert, Christopher Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, Oxford, One World Publications, 2006. The Formation of the Sunni Schools of Law, 9th-10th Century C.E. Leiden, Brill, 1997. Patton, Walter M. Axon Ibn Fambal and the Mikna, Leiden, Brill, 1897. Siddiqui Muhammad Zubair, Wadith Literature, Its Origin, Development, and Special Features, edited and revised by Abdal Hakim Murad, Cambridge, Islamic Text Society, 1993. Seal, Morris S. Muslim Theology, A Study of Origins with Reference to the Church Fathers, London, Luzak and Company, 1964. Spektorsky, Susan, 8 Chapters on Marriage and Divorce, Responses of Ibn Fambal and Ibn Raweh, Austin, University of Texas Press, 1993. Watt, William Montgomery, The Formative Period of Islamic Thought, Edinburgh University Press, 1973. Islamic Creeds, A Selection, Edinburgh University Press, 1994. Journal articles and encyclopedias. Abrahamov Binyamin, The Baal-Kefa Doctrine and Its Foundations in Islamic Theology, Arabica 42, Note 1 to 3, 1995, 365 to 379. Cooperson, Michael, Ahmad Ibn Fambal and Bishr Alkaf, A Case Study in Biographical Traditions, Studia Islamica 86, 1997, 71 to 101. Jimmerat, Daniel, Theories de l'acte humain dans l'école Fambalite, Bulletin d'Etudes Orientals 29, 1977, 157 to 178. Goldziher, Ignac, Axon B., Muhammad B. Fambal, An Encyclopedia of Islam, First ed., edited by M.T.H. Houtzma et al., Volume 1, 272 to 277, Leiden, Brill, 1913. Halleck, W. was Al-Shafi, the Master Architect of Islamic Jurisprudence, International Journal of Middle East Studies 25, for 1993, 587 to 605. Holtzman, Livnet, Human Choice, Divine Guidance and the Firat Tradition, the use of Wadith in theological treatises by Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah in Ibn Taymiyyah and His Times. Edited by Yosef Rappaport and Shahab Ahmed, 163 to 189, Karachi, Oxford University Press, 2009. Hurwitz, Nimrod, From Scholarly Circles to Mass Movements, The Formation of Legal Communities in Islamic Societies, American Historical Review 108, for 2003, 9851008. Laust, Henry A. Ahmad B. Fambal, An Encyclopedia of Islam, 2nd ed., edited by P. Behrman et al., Volume 1, 272 to 277, Leiden, Brill, 1960. Les Premiers Professions des Foy Fambalites, in Melanges Louis Massignon, Volume 3, 7 to 35, Damascus Institute Franque d Damas, 1956-57. Manalong, Wilford, The Origins of the Controversy Concerning the Creation of the Quran in Orientalia Hispanica, edited by J. M. Barrell, Volume 1, 504 to 525, Leiden, Brill, 1974. Melchert, Christopher, The Adversaries of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Rabica 44, no to 1997, 234 to 253. Pathanabila and the Early Kufs, Rabica 48, no 3 to 1001, 352 to 367. The Musnad of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, how it was composed, and what distinguishes it from the 6 books. Dar Islam 82, no 1 to 1005, 32 to 51. The Piety of the Haida Folk, International Journal of Middle East Studies 34, no 3 to 1002, 425 to 439. Nawaz, John A. Re-examination of 3 current explanations for Al-Mamun's Introduction of the Mikna, International Journal of Middle East Studies 26, no, for 1994, 615 to 629. Spektorsky, Susan A. Ahmad ibn Hanbal's Fitch, Journal of the American Oriental Society 102, no 3/1982, 461 to 465. Williams, Wesley, Aspects of the Creed of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, A Study of Anthropomorphism in Early Islamic Discourse, International Journal of Middle East Studies 34, no 3 to 1002, 441 to 463.